I'm not going to show you the image, but I want to tell you a horrific story from Hurricane Harvey. Now, my Aunt Joanne was sitting on her porch right over there as that water came across this hill. And all of my dad's cows, at that point I didn't have any cows, all of my dad's cows came here to this spot where I'm at now, which is the highest point of our property. This right here where I'm standing is the highest point of our property. And all of our animals had come together up over here, as far as the cows, the horses, and it was unfortunate that at some point the water continued to rise. And as Joanne and Uncle Raleigh were getting ready to be evacuated, Joanne said it was the saddest thing that she saw my dad's bull finally begin to be floating off. He was still alive and trying to swim. Of course, the current of water was pushing him this way, and so he was just swimming along with the current. And she said it was just heart-wrenching to hear him scream and holler as he he swam right past her house there. And we later found his remains in the far tree line. So I know that he swam as long as he could, and then he finally gave out and succumbed to the flood water. Now, I'm going to say something else too. A lot of folks are saying, oh, Lester, there's all kinds of EPA guidelines and there's all kinds of environmental things you got to do. Listen, if he had the resources, or if he had the means to get through all of that red tape or all of that bureaucracy, then why can't he find those same resources and go this much further and get all of this water that drains out of his development out of Plum Grove? Out of Plum. All right, hey folks, Lester here. And you're probably wondering, Lester, why are you lying on the ground? I'm doing this for a reason. I'm about to show you. Watch this. All right, so the reason I'm down on my belly and I'm kind of panning the camera across the pasture is I want you to see what we've built in preparation for the next flood. But we built ourselves a 4-foot berm, which will hopefully give our big animals a lot better fighting chance next time water covers their hill. You can see how much higher the berm is than the land around it, based on only being able to see the backs of the horses from here. Let me walk a little bit closer and show you. All right, so from the top of the berm, you can see that when the time comes and the animals need a place to go to seek higher ground, this over here will give them a 4-foot better fighting chance to survive than what they had during the last couple of floods that have come across this pasture and across their fields. I'm going to walk up now and show you the other berm that we built for the front pond, around the front pond, for the little animals. We call them the littles because they're all of our little short-legged animals, little goats and pigs. We call these guys the bigs, and they have long legs. Government bureaucracy. I have a hard time saying it. It's one of those words you can't say 3 times, I bet. How many of you are trying to say it right now 3 times fast? I can't. Don't even get me going. But that's what's happening right now with all of the flood videos that I've worked on. Right now we are caught up into what they call government bureaucracy. You know, some folks can't do this, some folks, it's a red tape thing. It's all that red tape they talk about. Yeah, we are seeing government bureaucracy in action. And so, even though we know this may take some time, this is not something that's going to be fixed overnight. This is not something that's going to be fixed this year. Let's be honest. This is not a problem that's going to be fixed this year. But I do want to show you, if anything can help put your mind at ease, I do want to show you what we have done on our own, using our own money and our own resources, some stuff that we have done to give our babies a little bit better fighting chance for when that next flood comes and when water does cross this hill again. Zoom in so you can see. That right there would be the berm that we had built for the littles. All of these babies. Our little short-legged friends. Let me go walk over there and show you. Now, we built this berm quite a bit higher. And I'll explain to you more when I get over there. All right, so now I'm laying back on my belly again. And I'm on this tall berm. Now, folks, this berm is about 10 foot off the ground. And we had it built here so that if the rains do come enough to where it starts pushing water across this pasture, now the littles will have a place to come to seek refuge. This over here will give them a 10-foot better fighting chance. You might be asking yourself, Lester, why would you have built the berm right here in this location and not built it across there to stop the water from flowing onto your land and across your barns and across your yard? And I kind of did that because I felt like I was forced to. I'll explain to you why. Let me kind of stand up. This takes a moment for me. I can't just hop up like I used to. Folks, we have the church right here. And, you know, they were also flooded during Harvey and other floods. But what happens is the water comes from that way. The water comes from that way. And so I was afraid that if we built this berm going that direction, and I could have very easily, yes, it would have stopped that water from coming across the pasture here, but it would have pushed that water back on top of the church. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to have to see them be flooded again, even though, you know, that's kind of like you save yourself and let everyone else, you know, suffer and die or whatever. That's called using your conscience. That's called being conscionable about what you're doing, knowing that your actions are going to lead to a reaction. Duh, Trey Harris. Seriously, duh. You know, if I would have taken and had this berm run across here to save myself with no regards to what happens to the people and the community of, you know, of believers who live beside me or who come worship beside me, what kind of person would that make me? Well, you have to answer that question, and each of us have to. I'll tell you what it would also do, though. It would open me up to a lot of lawsuits. If you don't have a conscience, you better at least be smart enough to know what a lawsuit looks like. Because if I was to come and alter the land, you better hear what I'm saying, sir. And you guys in Liberty County need to hear what I'm saying. Because everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. If I was to come and alter this landscape, and in doing that would force some kind of horrific disaster onto somebody else, that makes you negligent, dumbasses. That makes you negligent. And that opens you up to lawsuits. But no, so what we did was we built the berm going this direction, running along through here, knowing that if the water does come across this pasture again, it could be split. Some could go on that side, some can come across this side over here. And though it will not protect the yard and the barns and all, and maybe even the house, like, you know, those things are replaceable. Seriously, they are. Those things are replaceable. I've done that before, obviously, but your animals are not. Please, I'm making a very important video right here. Does it have to always be this way? Oh, stop! All right, okay. Sheesh. All right, so last thing you're saying, Lester, seems like you got it all figured out. You got your berm for your littles, your short-legged animals. You got a berm for those bigs, the long-legged animals. You know, you say, you know, if it ever gets that bad, fine. You rebuild your house, you rebuild your barn, you clean up, you do what you got to do. A lot of folks do that. True. And if that happens, then we will. But here's what I worry about. Mom and Dad don't have a berm. They don't have a place for their goats or cows to go to. My brother Dan, my sister Kim, all of the neighbors, my Aunt Joanne, Uncle Raleigh, you know, they don't have places to send their animals. And so, which is why ultimately you take on this fight and you try to have the county or government of some branch, whoever does things like this, the Army Corps of Engineers, I don't know, but somebody has to be in the know on how to fix things like this. But let me just say this real fast, and then I'll stop this video. Don't they realize that if they would have halted development, or at least demanded that the developer do the proper studies and show somebody in the know the plan, the official plan of drainage and whatnot, before they begin to fill in the wetlands, before they begin to fill in the natural ponds, before they begin to fill all that stuff in, somebody should have said, wait a minute, there's rules for stuff like this, and you're not following any of the rules. And that is my beef with Liberty County. That's my beef with one man in particular. I'm sorry, I may be pointing fingers at the wrong guy, but all roads point to a guy named Judge Knight. Yeah, the Honorable. Really? The Honorable H. Knight. He's the man that had the power to change or at least halt it all. He had the power. So here's what I bet happened. Now, I am only speculating. But here's what I bet happened. You know that good old boy system? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of a system. There may not have been any money exchanged. There may not have been hunting trips or casino trips. There may not have been any tickets to games, or I don't know. I am never going to say that was happening because I don't know. But something did happen to make the people in the position, the elected people in the position to say, no, this plan's not going to work. Those folks who could have said, no, this plan does not meet our codes. No, your plan does not have the proper science behind it. You've not had the proper soil samples submitted or whatever. Someone could have stopped all of this. No, you have to put away so many acres for so much development. Guys, there is so many people who know. And yet the elected officials here in Liberty County didn't say no when they should have. And so Colony Ridge, who is the developer out there, a guy named Trey Harris, who seems to push all the buttons for Colony Ridge. Yeah. You want to know something else? Now, this is just something that I read in one of those reports. Guess who else gave $500,000 to Greg Abbott as a campaign contribution? Trey Harris. Oh, man. Look it up. You think I'm making this up? I didn't see it happen, but I heard, and I bet you it's because of campaign contributions along with lots of other gifts and goodies that Colony Ridge, aka Trey Harris, has gifted to friends, why he was able to do whatever he wanted to do, and no one pressed the stop button before it's too late. And now, all of us got to pay the price. Right now, we are in defense mode. We are reactive, not proactive, because the powers that be, the elected officials, were not proactive when they were presented with all this stuff. Or they're just too dumb to know what all the paper says. That could be possible. I don't know. All right, so it's like you're looking down the barrel of a rifle. Look how far my fingers are spread here. And now I want you to look at that tree line in the far distance. All right, you see that tree line a couple hundred yards away? Guys, if Trey Harris would have went from right here, where he stopped his, my finger, the one that's wiggling, if he would have continued from right there where he stopped his canal and came on down to about right there-ish, somewhere through there, guys, that's all it would have taken. That's all it would have taken, and all of this mess, all of this flooding mess would not be an issue. No, listen to me. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm not trying to grind this guy into the ground. But if this guy, Trey Harris, had enough money, pick Trudy, baby, I'm talking about something that actually affects you. And then he can take $500,000 and give that to politicians, campaign contributions. Why couldn't he have taken a little piece of that money and continued his canal, his drainage canal, that much further, y'all? All right, so I've come back over to the, let's just say, the scene of the crime, if you will. Guys, the ditches that feed into here are nice and wide, but this canal itself, it's probably 100 or more feet across. It's probably 50 or more foot deep. And like I said in the previous video, this thing runs, guys, I kid you not, it runs 20 miles in that direction. Found a way. Hey, he's a businessman, so he knows what he's doing. He knows how to get things done, obviously. And he has found a way to take what was an old gully, a creek, and he has made it into this. And he has made it to where every drainage ditch, here's an example, every ditch runs into it for literally as far as the eye can see, okay? Now, if he can do all of that for his community, for his little development here, why can't he come back and finish the job he started and continue this a little bit further and get all this mess right past our homes and our farms and let all of this nightmare as far as the flooding just go away? So no, it feels good to know that if water ever does cover this hill again, then whatever animals congregate into this area, once that water begins to cover this, they can go to that berm and they will at least give themselves a 4-foot better chance at survival than what they had before. But it's still not fair. It is not fair for the people to have to live in fear every time we get a big rain. It's not fair to the animals who make this their forever home. It's not fair to the taxpayers or even for the insurance companies who have to cover the cost every time those flood waters come across these pastures. It's just not fair all the way around. And somebody needs to be held accountable.